Here we are. It's great. So I'm letting everyone in and welcome. Just sort of I don't know what do we getting in is that sort of it's that thing we think of as a between thing. We just think we're either outside or we're inside, but getting inside is its own vast space. So let's feel it. What's it like seeing each other, welcoming each other, like that? Yeah, makes me happy. I notice that. I suppose a lot of meditation is just, you know, come here and then notice, and then you can report it. Makes me happy, or this sucks today. Whatever, whatever honourable report you have, good enough. So, so let's. I'll start with a little meditation from the ancient. It's actually not ancient, but it looks ancient. Temple bell. The sound of the temple bell, and there's nothing else in the world. Ah, so feeling it, to be here on the earth. Jim Harrison has a little note in one of his late books, one about small gods. Years ago, in high green pasture near timberline, I watched a small black bear on its back, rolling back and forth and shimmying to scratch its back, pouring the air with pleasure, not likely wanting to be anywhere or anyone else. The meditation of the small black bear. So just to enjoy yourself, just to roll on your back in the meadow, a tree line, pouring the air with pleasure. Ah, very good. That's what it's like to be alive. So just feeling what it is to be here. To feel the time, to feel, we would say, the vastness of your life. And also, you might notice limitations of your life. Here's the koan. A woman raised a goose in a bottle. And when the goose grew, as they will, and when the goose grew, she wanted to get it out of the bottle without harming the goose or breaking the bottle. How will you get the goose out of the bottle? So just, I don't know, this is one of the great predicament koans. It's a bit like the stories in the fairy tale where you have to climb a glass mountain. Being in a bottle is interesting because you can see, but you can't engage with. It's like the image of being outside the restaurant but unable to get in. How will you get out of the bottle? So, in meditation, just sink into the question of the koan, the situation, and let it have you, let it feel you. It's life. Let life have you. So we're not standing outside it and moving it around and wanting to understand before we have it. Without having conditions, I'll accept life if it's nice to me. And on the other hand, perhaps my idea of nice is kind of narrow. So I refuse life without trying it. So the koan gives us a chance to taste life. So we can have it, at least for the time of meditation, we can have life without conditions, without warning signs. Without signs that say, do not tear the tag off this life if you want to take it back. Just enjoy the here-ness of it. Here is like that bear in the meadow. Just enjoy the here of it. And what are we doing here? This. Incredibly wonderful when we don't think we should be doing something else. Moving on to the next place. So if we begin to examine what it is like to be in this skin, having these bones as such as they are, begin to feel the time, to feel this life. Only then can we raise the question of whether we're in prison or not. A woman raised a goose in a bottle. A woman raised a goose in a bottle. We always have a predicament, you know. My predicament right now is that my daughter is a AI person. She always busts through whatever protections I have and gets to send me a message no matter what I'm doing. So I'm trying to turn off messages, but you know, that's my bottle right now. So we have to accept the bottle we have. So here we are. A woman raised a goose in a bottle, and when it grew, she wanted to get it out of the bottle without harming goose or bottle. How will you get it out of the bottle? So, you know, sometimes it's great to sit with it. We always think we're supposed to rush through a great question, but it's all right to be in the question. This is the chance for that. In the vastness of meditation, in the here-ness of meditation, in the now-ness of meditation. The here, the now, the vastness. You notice how we stop trying to get through things, they open out. They're wide, they spread. Like there is no other place I would want to be. There is nothing could make my life more complete. Just to feel the situation, you know. The mind is always, as one of the ancient scriptures goes, a great artist ceaselessly producing its fictions. Just to feel the situation, to enjoy the vastness of the situation without having to draw back and think about it. Enjoy yourself. In order to enjoy yourself, in order to be free, you just have to not be chained. You just have to forget to be unhappy, to forget to be needing or wanting. And then here we are. I think I've told this story before, but part of not being in a bottle is I can tell stories again. So I knew a woman who was a Tibetan Lama, and she had been with one of the great mad lamas, and she had been his driver for years, and she'd driven him around. So, he was always very courteous and helpful. And I said, "Well, did you ask him about the teachings?" And she said, "No, I didn't dare." And I said, "Well, did he talk to you?" And she said he would say things every now and again. He would pat me on the shoulder and say, "Enjoy yourself." And I thought, oh, what a wonderful teaching to give. That she was definitely inclined to earnestness and devotion, which are good things. But even they can, any good thing can be a confining thing. So how do you keep yourself in your bottle? Yeah. Just go into the situation and reservations about life. Conditions. I'll only love you if you fill in the blank. How dare you? Da 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 da. Life. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. I'll only be happy if this illness I have goes away. I insist. For my happiness, I insist on various conditions. But the wideness, if you feel it right now, you can feel we're here. In the great temple, we're also in vast space. Just to be here is in, just to be here, everything is here. It's nothing we need. Just look around your room. There are many good ways to meditate. I learned many of them. In the Zen temple, the idea was basically you have your eyes 3/4 closed and you look down at the boards on the floor, about 3 feet away, one great Zen master said. When I studied with the Tibetans, they said, you look around at the mountains and the birds wheeling. And so they're all possible ways, Look around your room, see how it welcomes you. See how this life already welcomes you before you put a condition on it. And if you demand that it welcomes you, you notice how it moves back. So look at your temple. Look at the vastness of your life. It is all the greatness of meditation. How are you going to get that goose out of the bottle? Suddenly, it's not a problem. A woman raised a goose in a bottle. I was raised in a bottle. A woman raised a goose in a bottle. And when it grew, she wanted to get it out without harming the goose or the bottle. Enjoy yourself. It might happen. For a long time, it never occurred to me that meditation had anything to do with enjoyment or delight. And I was right in a way that you can't reach for delight. You know, if you reach for it, you have the reaching. If you strive for it, you have the striving. But in some way you might find it's already here. Somebody asked Linji, one of the greatest of koan masters, what do you teach? And he said, I don't teach anything, I just strike off locks and bolts. and, so, and so then you're here. If if you haven't erected the castle or the fortress of your own reasons not to be here, if we haven't carefully cultivated our suffering, we're here. And we didn't even care about the attitudes and the injustices of the past, or even of the present. We're here. We would not give this long, beautiful day up for anything. And silence itself holds us. Well, there's always that noise, whatever the noise going on is, little swoosh of tires, the hawk screaming and enjoying itself. Teaching its young, look, this is how you scream. Completely at peace, like the bear in the meadow. Like the human in the temple. This beautiful life that we're having right now, not tomorrow. Not when we improve ourselves, not when somebody else stops being so annoying. Not when the great things, we don't have to wait till the great things are resolved, because the great issues are always going to be here. Global warming and injustice. We can have our joy right now. Nowhere else. One of the great teachers, the great horse ancestor, he was very big, like 7 foot tall. If they'd had basketball, he would have been a great basketball player. And he came to his teacher, and he just stood there. He didn't bow. He just stood there, and the teacher said, "Magnificent, imposing, where do you come from?" And he said, "Magnificent and imposing, I come from the north." And the teacher said, "What have you come for?" And he said, "Not for anything else. Nothing else than this." Yeah. You're not in the wrong life, you're not in the wrong moment. Here we are, and isn't it a joy? Just to say. Let's have it while we can. Not for anything else. The Goose in the Bottle is a great old story, and there's a couple of kind of cool stories that go with it. There's a traditional story. One of the great teachers wasn't a great teacher yet. He was kind of a novice, and he'd sort of gotten to that stage where you can see stuff, but you're still a bit smart-assed in a way. and he didn't really understand the depths of things. He was attending another teacher, and somebody said, a student came and said, "Why did Bodhidharma come from the West?" Let's say someone is down, and this teacher said, let's say someone is down in a 1,000-foot well. If you can get him out without using even a centimeter of rope, I'll tell you about the meaning. And the student started talking nonsense, and he called to his attendant and said, "Drag this corpse out of here." And the attendant happened to be Yangshan, and was very puzzled by that. How do you get the man out of the well? And he went to another teacher, said, "Bah, ignoramus, who's in the well?" and he didn't understand. But then he told the story to his next teacher, was somebody who became a great friend, and they lived together for many years teaching together, Goose. And he told the story. He said, well, somebody's in a 1,000-foot well. How do I get them out without using any rope? And his name was Yangshan, and the teacher said, Yangshan! He said, yes. And the teacher said, there, you're out. It's the sort of effortless sense of freedom. There are no steps to be here, we're just here. And there's another great story that where I knew at least one of the protagonists. When I lived in Honolulu, I used to walk to the temple most mornings around, it was around dawn or a bit after it was summer, or we'd be coming back a bit after dawn. And there were flowering trees over the avenue that I walked in, which was kind of nice. I walked a little side street and there were flowering trees. And there was an old Chinese scholar called Dr. Chong who lived there. And he just minded his own business, but I'd always nod to him. And he would be sweeping the flowers off his walkway as he went. And he had this great story, that his story about him was, he was a scholar who he didn't want to get involved with learning Zen. He wanted to study and know the history and know all that sort of thing. So he's happily doing that and was expert in the great texts. And he read about the goose in the bottle, and suddenly it grabbed him, and he kept reading things to find out, well, what's the answer? How do you get the goose out of the bottle? How can I do that? It's impossible. How can I get the goose out of the bottle? And it obsessed him. And then he thought, and in that stage, that in the West, probably the best known koan master was a guy called Daisetsu Suzuki, who lived in New York and taught, I think, at Columbia actually, and knew a lot of the New York intellectuals there, like Eric Fromm and people. So anyway, he found Suzuki's number and called him, but there's like a 5-hour time difference between Honolulu and New York. So he called him in the evening. So he woke Suzuki up. And Suzuki, huh? And the phone rings, Suzuki, yes. And he says, it's Dr. Suzuki. It's Dr. Chong. The goose in the bottle. I must know the answer. How do I get the goose out of the bottle? And then Suzuki's just like waking up, and he says, Dr. Chong! Yes. And he says, what about your goose? And he said, then my goose popped out of the bottle. So that was his moment of awakening. And then presumably Suzuki put down the phone and went back to sleep. It's kind of, I thought that was a good response from Suzuki in just being in bed. So yeah, so you'll find there are many, many situations in which we feel tremendously confined, but we might not be. I knew a little bit. I was when I was in teaching in a medical environment, and this woman came and told me about. She started sharing haiku, that one of her patients was dying of cancer and was writing these haiku, and they were beautiful actually. Which is, most haiku are kind of interesting and nice try and stuff, but this was beautiful. These were really powerful and interesting, and then at one stage she said she doesn't want to share them anymore because she wants to be able to concentrate on her dying and really having it and really entering it. And I thought, oh, that's kind of nice, William Wordsworth's sister, when she was dying, she asked, she loved reading and she loved people to read to her, but she asked people to stop reading because what was happening to her was too interesting and it required all her attention. It's another bottle to be in, So, and we can see that, there's a certain way with most predicaments, if you stop fighting with them the world spreads out. You know, this is really the whole great secret of meditation, that we hear. And the exercise of just looking around the room or looking at each other. If there's someone with you, you can just look at them, you know. Or someone on the, I have many friends on here. I enjoy looking at their faces. It's very encouraging to me. I enjoy looking at your faces. Yeah, I know many of you. So that's kind of, and then you realize, oh, I'm free. You know. One of the things we do is teach teachers how to, I don't know, that's possible, but you know, how to teach. But one of the things to do is, oh, don't try to help people, be with them. You know, be here. You know. If we really meet, everybody's free. And it's you can feel the joy starts to rise in your heart. And it spreads out over everything, you know, so that's you. It's not an experience somebody else has, it's you. Right here, right now. Right here in New Jersey. So, who knew? Right here in California, or Edinburgh, or Santa Fe, or wherever we are, Philadelphia, Colorado. Right here in here. Like I was looking for Goose out of the bottle poems, and there's a lot of ones that, you know, they're not really out of the bottle, sort of thing, you know. So, and here's Adam Zagajewski, who's dead now, but you know, he's the next generation of great Polish poets after Milosz and Co. and Anna Sofia. And this is a poetry reading. Audio, read by the translator. Svetan would moderate the event. I sat with Charles in a little cafe in silence, a bit uneasy before a public reading of our poems, which always seemed defenseless at such moments. You never know, would listeners, if any came, be ready to forget about themselves? And would we too ignite that rivalry the ancients so loftily called agon? Agony comes from it, and so on, agonist. Agon, though it is really noble, nowadays in recent times, and likely it wasn't even then. We said nothing, glanced at our watches, each lost in a different city, a different childhood, a different family. Just then a speaker started playing the songs of Billie Holiday. She sang from immortality without fear, but no, not quite. Her fear was now perfectly formed, refined. It's January here. The wet snow falls, it muffles sounds and colours, it masks the imperfections of yet another city, hides its pettiness. Both of you are long since gone. I turn back to that moment years ago, not from nostalgia, but because I've only now begun to see that this was an instant of brotherhood, silent brotherhood, which survives in spite of all. So inside the bottle, it was all right. And the second page goes, as per the fixed program and the accepted protocol, we stood before the small crowd. We started reading, and strength returned. We became servants of poetry, older than us and younger, omnipotent and helpless. Here's a Richard Wilbur poem called Beautiful Changes. One wading a full meadow finds on all sides the Queen Anne's lace lying like lilies on water. It glides so from the walker, it turns dry grass to a lake. As the slightest shade of you valleys my mind in fabulous blue lucernes. The beautiful changes as a forest is changed, by chameleons tuning his skin to it, as a mantis arranged on a green leaf grows into it, makes the leaf leafier, and proves any greenness is deeper than anyone knows. Your hands hold roses always in a way that says they're not only yours. The beautiful changes in such kind ways. wishing ever to sunder things and things selves for a second, finding to lose for a moment all that it touches back to wonder. Things and things selves for a second, getting rid of the self for a second, basically. For a second, finding to lose for a moment all that it touches back to wonder. Losing all that it touches back to wonder. Touch something. It's like, what's the feel of the brick? Nothing to do with me, the feel of that brick. Just life. Alison Atwell, do you want to say anything?
Well, two things come to mind. One is my daughter, actually, when I think of, raising a goose in a bottle. In a way, it's a little bit a description of being a parent, and how all the trouble my daughter is now 33, so she's definitely ready to get out. And that my desire to protect her are experienced as, that's how I make the glass between me and her. And also my desire to take this beautiful goose I've raised and display, show it, oh, this is my goose. It is the other way that it's like a painful feeling of separation between me and my daughter. Like, that's how the trouble is made, when it feels like there's trouble. And then the other thing that came to mind was this love affair that I had when this person I was so in love with for about 7 years, and we had this long relationship, but it was always troubled. He was always throwing a fit and breaking up, and then we'd get back together, and it was just this tremendous amount of work the whole 7 years. And finally, he sent me an email, and I just had this bad feeling when I got the email, and I opened it up, and it was a breakup letter. And somehow there was this surprising feeling of relief that suddenly I was out of the bottle. Like, the thing that I so much didn't want to have happen, to have it end, was actually the thing that it was like suddenly it was all gone, and I was out in the world. Like, the world, I looked around, and there was no glass.
Thank you. Excellent. Eduardo Fuentes, I know it's a big day for you, like in Chile, and also, and politics is its own kind of bottle, of course. And so, how are you doing? What are you noticing? How's gooses and bottles for you?
Okay, now we can. Yes. I have felt like a goose in a bottle for all these months in preparation for the great vote today, which we will approve or reject a new constitutional proposal for Chile. And both sides try to convince us that this bifurcation in the Chilean history is crucial. And this is the only important thing. So this koan came to me very liberating. Yes. And then there's the mountains and the snow in the Andes and the sunny day. Yes. But people are still voting. It's now 2:20. They will vote until about 6. And then we will have probably about 9, we will know what happened. Which direction we will go. Both sides emphasize how extreme the vote is and how much everything will change. A very liberating koan at this moment.
Very good.
Yeah, very liberating. And there's this beautiful rose that I have here. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
and the beautiful day, and yeah, yeah. And then there is the election, of course, and I hope rejection wins.
Blessings on you and your country.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Tess, do you have anything you want to say?
Sure. I think what feels most vivid is since last weekend I had the dreaded COVID, and all told it hasn't been that terrible, but I just keep not feeling normal. And I notice how anytime my mind, I was just noticing during the meditation, the familiarity of, oh, and like anytime I make that a problem, it just feels like I'm fighting against everything. I'm fighting against my own state. I'm fighting against my ideas about how long something should go on. I'm fighting against, I don't know, everything else that I think should be happening. And when I just relax, like relaxing into the meditation, it's actually like what I feel is to kind of just warm and sleepy and a little bit like woozy, and it's not a problem at all. Like it's actually kind of relaxing. It's fine. And I was noticing just that you asked a question at the beginning, John, about you phrased it somehow of investigating the prison you're in, and it's like how quickly anything can become like that. Like my old cat has suddenly decided he doesn't like anything that we want to feed him. And so every mealtime now becomes this interesting dance of what can we possibly get him to eat. And some cats are apparently called affection eaters, which is if you encourage them and keep them company and pet them and tell them what good kitties they are, maybe they'll want to eat. And so there's this whole new part of our day that's just like accompanying the cat while he may want to eat, and how quickly that too can become, oh, for God's sake, you won't eat anything. But he's looking at you like, please, I'd like something to eat. I'm just not sure what it is. And so it feels like the bottle can just appear and disappear pretty quickly, depending on what I consider a problem or not.
Thank you. Tenny, do you want to have anything to say? Tenny's a Zen teacher and a kind of very close cousin of ours.
Yeah, hi, John. It's great to be here. I had maybe one or two things. So one would be an Emily Dickinson poem, and it's an enigma poem. And what I love about it is the enigma for a long time felt like a real problem to me. It's like, here's this thing that's not soluble and it's a problem. And now it seems exactly like Tess was saying, being out of the bottle instead of inside it. So 4 trees upon a solitary acre, without design or order or apparent action maintain. The sun upon the morning meets them. The wind, no nearer neighbor have they but God. The acre gives them place, they, him, attention of passerby, of shadow or of squirrel haply, or boy. What deed is theirs unto the general nature? What plan they severally retard or further, unknown? Problem or not a problem. And then the other thing also is working on the koan. It's usually, there's the goose, right? I'm the goose. So it's interesting to me that in some way it's a Sambhogakaya koan, and I wonder about that. Like, why is being the goose also? How do I get out of the bottle by being the goose? And it reminds me in a way of what you were saying about just looking around at where you are. And if I'm not trying to force anything, then everything in a way is, dissolving the bottle. And well, we meet in a place where the bottle isn't anymore there.
Thanks, Tenny. It's great. Your selections of poems are always wonderful, and I'm always grateful for them. Thank you. Michelle Riddle.
So kind of along the lines maybe of, I don't know, what you have been talking about and Tenny just said, I've been noticing lately for some reason a lot, of that. Like, you know how when we started today and you said, just come here and be here and notice. And it's almost like, for me, like catching the fact that I'm happy, as though normally I just ignore it. And I can be just driving along a road, and if I notice, I can, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm happy. And often it's associated with then something, like I look up and there's a big tree. It's like, it's not that I'm happy because of the tree, but the tree approaches me and is sharing in my happiness. And it can happen with the gate going into my house. It can happen anywhere. And I was just sitting here and I looked at the rug, and the rug did the same. It's like a rug's like, hey, and the rug says hello. And then it's just like, oh, you know, this is good. And it has nothing to do with whether I have other problems or, you know, but like the more that you just notice it and catch it, like, you think you're not happy, but you're not paying attention. And then, like, even when you don't feel it, or for me, like, then there's something like, well, I can still have faith that that's there underneath, and it's there almost like carrying me through my problems. So that's what I've been thinking about as you've been talking today.
I love that. It's great the way the tree approaches us, and that's it. It's always, there's nothing. There's no moment that's not this. You know, it's like, and the tree is a wonderful, you know, crashes into us in some way. And 10,000 things advance and meet us. Thank you, Michelle. That's beautiful. What is someone here? Jason Garner, you were talking about the Goose in the Bottle last week, and I don't know what you're talking about this week, but
I have these friends. In fact, I have these friends who are monks in Kyoto, and they run a temple. And their grandfather, in fact, is the one who made that piece behind you, John, the little gray piece. And he took this temple and he created this call of action around the world for people to come and create figures. And so the whole place is filled with 1,200 hand carved Buddhas, but some are modern with cell phones and basketballs, and others are very formal. And so his son and grandson now run the temple, and they're just wonderful. They want to be rock stars and photographers, and so we've become friends and pen pals. And they asked me for tickets to Lady Gaga in Tokyo. And so while I was on the Zoom, the son sent me back a picture of I don't know if you can see it, of his father, the monk, asleep with Lady Gaga eye mask on. And he said, I'm just going to send you a picture of the happiest monk you've ever seen. And I thought, well, isn't that funny? Like, how do you get the goose out of the bottle? You go to a Lady Gaga concert, and suddenly this artistic expression within the monk is expressed. And so that was touching for me.
that's a sweet story. Kindness has something to generosity has something to do with being out of the bottle too, I think. Yeah. Thank you, Jason. Yeah. Yeah, really nice to see you. I think we better go do some zazen now. It might be a good idea. Hearing the sound of the bell. Notice how the sound of the bell too is full of sounds. spreads out. A woman raised a goose in a bottle, and when it grew, she wanted to get it out. How will you get out the goose? Just feel the. You can feel the vastness, and if everything feels really constricted, if you enter there, you'll notice that one molecule is enough to have a whole vast universe. One molecule, you think it's sorrow? One molecule of sorrow will be the vast universe with all its spreading joy. Enter there. And just feel it right now. Look at your room. Look into your heart. It comes out of your heart. Like that. Oh, what a good thing. What a good thing to be in meditation on a Sunday. if you don't get out of the bottle at summertime? Raising a goose in a being raised in a bottle, wanting to get out. The Buddha, he wasn't allowed out. Nobody had told him. So he left the palace, but he couldn't leave the bottle he was inside himself, except through a journey and meditation. And we can feel, everything we're experiencing, everything we remember is also our freedom. Summertime has been our anthem at PZI for a long time when we did summer retreats in the redwoods. Summertime would be the way we began, And here's Michael with beautiful summertime. The eternal time. This time lasts forever, right now. And you can tell that when we're just here, when we stop, I suppose we stop constructing and manufacturing the situations of pain and difficulty. It's hard to remember how to do that at the moment when we're really here, but no doubt we'll manage. But when we're just here and all the limitations disappear, and that feeling of freedom just goes on. And there's no flaw, no mistake in our lives. Nothing that needs to be remedied. Nothing that could make it better either. That's a strange thing, isn't it? Willy Wonka and his chocolate factory could not improve your life right now. Since it is complete, it is for you. The woman raised the goose in the bowl. Yes. And how will you get it out? How will you get you out? Guishan said, Yangshan, yes, there, you're out. The slightest thing. And you can tell when you notice how it spreads out of your own breast, your own heart. You can tell that, love and generosity is not really an exercise we do, it's just something that's here. When everything falls away, that's what's here. That feeling of sweetness and how beautiful it is to be here together. Not a small thing, that's a profound thing of life. And we have it with the birds and the animals, and the wind and the trees and the rivers. There, you're out. Beautiful thing to be here together. I'm going to ask somebody who's been it comes on often, but I don't really hardly know. And if you have anything to say to hear, do you have anything to say? Welcome. You can say no, I don't have anything to say because I just, is that it? Just the bow?
The only thing I can think of right now. Yeah.
That's a good thing to think of. Thank you. Well done. I like to hear your voice, so it's nice to have you on. Wow, James Anthony, you're here somewhere, probably in California or Hawaii or somewhere. Do you have anything you want to say about gooses and bottles?
Yeah, I'm in Hawaii. I'm in Manoa Valley. It's raining. There was one rainbow popped in to say hello to Michelle, and now there are two. So the rainbows say hello to all of us. Um, so I've been hanging out remotely with a dear old friend in California who's become increasingly sort of close and important to me in different kinds of work that we do, aquatic dance and body work and community building and just the friendship between men and that particular quality, you know. I'm 60 now, he's the same age. And in the last few days, he's been struggling with a pretty strong physical addiction to alcohol. And, you know, that's a particular kind of bottle in many ways. And the problem with getting out of it is that it will kill you. You can't just stop, right? You actually kind of have to pause and notice what's happening. And I was just so touched that he came to me with this. I was the only person who he told he was going to do this little project with. And last night he asked me for a koan. He's going into one of these isolation flotation tanks today. He thought it might be interesting to have a koan in there. So I sent him Save a Ghost. And then I also said, but you know, you could wait and check out John in the morning and see what he's doing. I think he might be doing this thing with a goose in a bottle. And so this morning before meditation, we had been texting about that, and we're still kind of hanging out with it. And it's just, it keeps opening up, you know, because he's in Oakland and there are geese flying free overhead. Um, and um, and just all the ways to be the bottle and to be the lady who made the bottle and to be the ghost, the ghost and the goose and all of it. And just how touching it is for me to have this practice and this friendship, and just how grateful I am for all of my bottles and my geese and all of us in the flock flying together and lifting each other wing on wing. Thank you, John.
Thank you, James. Very touching. Yeah. The generosity when we come out of the bottle, even in the bottle. Okay. Amaryllis, Jordan, what's happening?
I've out the great Buddha way. I've vowed to wake all beings of the world. I've vowed to set endless heartache to rest. I vow to walk through every wisdom gate. I vow to live the great Buddha way.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Amaryllis. Beautiful violin. You know, in October, mid-October, we're having an online session, and so the thing about online session is that you can go to work and attend when you can and things like that. And also, if you're, you know, we know some people have plenty of money and you can pay. Give us some extra, but some people don't have much money, and so you can, you know, we can support you. Online sessions easy like that for us to. You can get a deep scholarship. So come along to the October retreat. Also, if you want to give us money, go to the website pacificzen.org, and we'll be delirious and thrilled, and just like Goose getting out of bottles. And I don't know, I'm just really touched by the things people shared and just your faces, and sort of a nice morning. Thank you. Michael's Summertime, Jordan's music, and just great, you know. Amaryllis's violin. Her violin seems to me like a creature itself, you know. So thank you.